Morning. Today we're going to start Lamed Beis. Lamed Beis. Is that like 12 lines from the bottom? It's Kriya Shema. Let me just mute this 1 second. Okay. Thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. For learning, we should have the base of Mikdash immediately. We were discussing in the Mishnah, in an interesting Mishnah, about what things need to be said in Hebrew, what can be said in any language. Okay, so we said that Kriya Shema is allowed to be said in any language. Interesting, right? Yeah, you know, there's a tshuva from Rabbi Kiva not to use the siddur of Moses Mendelssohn. Not because he's reformed. He writes that the translation, it didn't say "Hear, O Israel." I don't know in German what it said, but it said Israel, listen. And he held that Rabbi Kiva holds because the Shema needs to be said in order, so the translation also needs to be in order. So that's why we have that funny translation of "Hear Israel," Shema Yisrael. You can't do Israel, listen. It has to be the whole. I think the Chabad Siddur is careful with that. I looked once. Anyway. Okay, so Kriya Shema could be said in any language. Minolan, how do we know this? The pasuk says Shema Yisrael, it says "Hear, O Israel," or "Listen, Israel." In any language that you can understand, that you can hear. Shema has 3 translations, right? It means to listen, it means to understand, and it means to obey. Thank you. Okay, so we learned from there that it could be said in any language that you understand. Tana Rabbanan, started in a brayso Kriya Shema Kichsava Divrei Rebbe. Rebbe disagrees with what we just said. Rebbe says Kriya Shema has to be said exactly the way it's written, which means in the Hebrew text it has to be said in Hebrew, the recitation of Shema. The Chacham say b'chol lashon, Chacham say it could be in any language. My time of the Rebbe. What's the reason for Rebbe that says that it has to be exactly in Hebrew, pronouncing it? It says, and these words will be, which means will be. That will be teaches me that it has to be exactly as it is, which means in its original language. Rabbanan, what do the Rabbanan say? They say Amakra Shema. They say instead of the will be, they say that Shema teaches me b'chol lashon shat any language that you understand. That's good enough. Rabbanan Nami Aksiv Hayu, this Gemara does this. Says, what do they do with the other person's verse? What do the Rabbanan do with the verse of Rebbe? Rebbe said Vahayu, that means that it needs to be as it is in Hebrew. What do they do with that? Hahu, that pasuk shlei kernel mafreya. That's telling me that you can't read the Shema backwards. It has to be as it is to read it in the right order. Rebbe shlei kernel mafreya minal, and if Rebbe says that Vahayu teaches me that it needs to be in Hebrew, how does he know that it can't be read out of order? Nafkalei midvarim hadvarim. He learns it from, in these words, Vahayu hadvarim, it says a definite article there. These words, that teaches me that it needs to be in order. Rabbanan. So if it says that, so why did the Rabbanan say that we learn that from Vahayu? Reason is because dvarim hadvarim le'mashmalahu. They didn't learn from dvarim hadvarim. Somehow what happens is, when you have these drasha arguments, you know, how do you learn something? They narrow it down till there's like one letter that they're arguing over, and then they usually finishes off with, oh, this one doesn't think that that's considered significant. So that's how Rabbanan, they don't learn from Dvarim Hadvarim. It says these words. Rebbe Nami, now we ask the question back on Rebbe. Rebbe Nami Aksiv Shema, says Shema. And Shema tells me that you can say it in any language. What does he do with that? He says that it has to be audible. You have to be able to hear. You have to enunciate the words. You should be able to hear it. You have to say it out loud. Yeah. Yeah, that's important. There's different communities that daven differently. Some communities it's very quiet. So the community hear everyone saying the words out loud. In Chabad, they say the words out loud. Other places, some places you hear the humming. You go inside here. Everyone is like you only have to say very very soft. We're not talking about Shmoneh Esrei. We're talking about the words of the rest of davening. They say it out loud. So you have to hear it. Rabbanan Sabri la Kamanda Marakirish Mavalesh Milas Niyatsa. The Rabbanan hold the other opinion that says that you don't have to hear it, even if you just think it. How is it considered reading it? Is that considered kairi by just thinking? Yeah, that's what it sounds like. But you have to do any verb, any action with the mouth, according to the Rabbanan. I don't know. Okay, Lema Kasavar Rebbe. Let's say that Rebbe holds Kol HaTorah B'chol Lashon Emra, that really you're allowed to read the whole Torah in any language. Isal Kadaitach B'lashon HaKodesh Nemra, because if you would say that the Torah needs to be read in Hebrew, so then why do we need a special pasuk by Shema to tell me that it needs to be in Hebrew? The whole Torah is in Hebrew. It must be that the whole Torah you could say in any language. You could read it in any language. What are we talking about over here? This is like so strange. What part of the Torah do you have to say? Rashi says we're talking about Kriyas Torah. The Kriyas basic Knesses. Problem is that reading the Torah in the basic Knesses is only rabbinic. Must be. We had this Gemara once before. We had this Gemara in Brachas, and I think over there, Rashi said, I think, Parshas Para, and that's the source that we say Parshas Para is a biblical Torah reading. I think that we had a Gemara somewhere where there was a Rashi that says Parshas Para, or someone said that maybe there's two Torah readings that are rabbinic. The Parshas Zachar. So that would have to be said according to this. That could be said in any language. And we have to come along and say that Shema cannot be said in any language. Taisus discusses how do you get the Sefer Torah. Well, I guess it would be in Greek. Sefer Torah in Greek, according to Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, or according to the other opinions. How do you get it? Yeah, you have to read it from a Torah. It must be that the other opinions hold that you can have a Torah in other languages. The Gemara says not necessarily so. It could be that according to Rebbe, you actually have to read the whole Torah. The rest of the Torah, you have to read it in Hebrew. So why by Shema did you have to tell me that you have to do it in Hebrew? You have to do everything in Hebrew. It's necessary. Shema, because it says Shema, and Shema taught me that you could do it in any language. No, well, not according to Rebbe, but according to the Rabbanan, Shema implied that you can do it in any language. So therefore, I need a pasuk of Bahayu to tell me that that's not so, that it needs to be in Hebrew. No, it's really the whole Torah is in Hebrew. Shema I could have thought was an exception because of Shema. The word Shema means to understand. And then so it tells me Bahayu that it's not an exception, that it needs to be in Hebrew. Lema kasavar Rabbanan kol Torah kol b'lashon hakodesh. We take it the other way. Probably if the Rabbanan say that Shema doesn't need to be said in Hebrew, you say it in any language, probably because the rest of the Torah needs to be in Hebrew. And that's what we're saying, that Shema doesn't need to be. It's exactly the opposite of what we're saying. Well, the Gemara says, if the Torah could be said in any language, could read any of the Torah in any language, so why does he have to tell me that Shema could be in any language? The whole Torah is in any language. The Gemara says, no, it's Shech Mishum D'Ksiv V'Hayu. It says V'Hayu, and it should be, that means that it needs to be in Hebrew. So really, the whole Torah could be read in any language. Could have thought Vahayu is specifically in Hebrew. Comes along Shema to tell me that it goes back to the rest of the Torah, that it's not an exception. Okay. Is that part of this? Does that come into play? We know the Torah was translated into 70 languages. I don't know if it goes into if there's some machlekes about that, and if it's dependent on these opinions here. I'm not sure. Yeah, you know why we do Shnayim Mikra V'Chatargam is because the Torah was taught to us. We read the Torah portion every week twice, and then the Aramaic we do once. Because the Torah was taught to us twice on the mountain at the Oil Mayad, and then it was taught us in every language in Arbus Mayav. So that's why we have the other language the third time. So that in the Maral.
Translated, they came and offered all the nations of Torah. You have to give it to them in their language.
Right. Yeah. But it says Be'er Hativ that Moshe Rabbeinu translated 70 languages. Okay. Why do we have such a problem with the Torah being translated into Greek? Why was that such a bad day? So I got this Meir Kahana's father, Rabbi Kahana, I forgot his first name, but he translated the Chumash. It's called Torah Yeshara. And anyway, in there, he translates the Chumash together with the commentary. You know, it's not just it's not a literal translation into English. It's translated into English, but it's with together. The translation itself has a kind of like the Chabad Mushroom today. They have like Rashi incorporated into it. Anyway, he claims in his introduction that the reason why it's such a sad day was because they translated it literal without the oral traditions attached to it. Okay, Tefillah, prayer. What language does prayer have to be said in? It says we can say it in any language. It says Rachmihi. It's just asking for mercy. Kol heichi deboy matzli. However a person wants, that's how he prays. Tefillah b'chol lashain. The Gemara asks, you're allowed to pray in any language. Rav Yehuda taught. Lo'ilam al yishal adam tzracha b'lashon aramis. A person should not ask for his needs. It means to daven in Aramaic. Rabbi Yechanan taught. Kol shel tzracha b'lashon arami and malachi asher t'skakan. The angels that help the prayers, take the prayers up, they don't understand Aramaic, so you shouldn't pray in Aramaic. They won't. They don't understand Aramaic. What's going to happen? They'll bring it to the wrong place, or they won't bring it. I don't know. This is like kasha. It's not a problem. You're allowed to pray. You could have answered this differently. We could have answered that a person can pray in any language except for Aramaic. Apparently, the angels understand other languages. It's just Aramaic that they don't understand. But anyway, the Gemara doesn't answer that. The Gemara says you can pray in any language, including Aramaic. But 1 second, we said that the angels don't help the prayers if you pray in Aramaic. So that's because that's only if you're praying privately. But if you're praying in public,
they understand. Then
you don't need the angels. You can pray in Aramaic in public. That's why all the prayers that are in Aramaic, you only say in public. We say in public. So, for example, by Slichas, it says if you don't have a minyan, then you skip Maseh, Mache, those prayers. Any prayers in Aramaic, you only say if there's a minyan. That's the Brich Shmei, you only say with the minyan. Okay.
Not sure what it's in. You say quiet.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You don't pray it out loud. That's right. Ein Malachi Asharis, the Gemara asks, Ein Malachi Asharis Makirim B'Lashon Arami. The angels don't understand Aramaic. But Tanya, we have a brisa. Yechanan Kain Gadol Shama Baskal. We basically Kedesh HaKadoshim. Yechanan Kain Gadol was the Kain Gadol by the time of the Chashmonaim. Matisyo ben Yechanan Kain Gadol. There's a discussion in that chapter. Is it Matisyo the Kain Gadol, Or is it Matisyahu ben Yochanan Kohen Gadol? The discussion over there. What's the chat in it? Who is the title going on? It says anyway, there was a Kohen Gadol, Yochanan Kohen Gadol. You hear Shama Baskel in Beis Kedesh Kadashim. He hears a Baskel coming out of the Holy of Holies. Shuaymer that says Nitzchu Talia. The youth were victorious. Because they went to wage battle in Antioch, which I guess there was a battle that was taking place. And so he was able to hear from the angels were informing him, and they said it in Aramaic. At least that's how we have it recorded, that it was in Aramaic. Shuv Maisa, there's another story, B'Shimon HaTzadik. Shimon HaTzadik, Shema Baskel Mibeis Kodesh HaKadoshim. He heard a voice coming out of the Holy of Holies. Shuaymer says, B'Tela Savirita, the battle, that the battle was nullified. The Amr Sana, that the enemy said, that he was going to wage against the temple. Benerag Gaskalgas, which they translate as Caligula. Caligula was murdered. He was the Praetorian Guard. They killed him. They didn't like. I don't know what he was doing wrong. They didn't like him. They got rid of him. He was crazy apparently. Marsha. You want to say that the angels don't understand any language, and even Aramaic. That's what you want to say. Who says that?
He says about not even Aramaic.
I'm not sure if that fits with everything that we've learned, but let me just see. You're saying that this is a Marsha? Just 1 second, let me see. Yeah, so the Marsha says that the Rush says that Aramaic is worse than other languages. And according to the other opinion, that really Aramaic is better. And the Chiddush is that they don't say that you can't have even Aramaic. There's two ways of learning it. Very nice. Hearing is not to be familiar, rather to value and honor. Okay. Angels do not understand all the thoughts of people. They understand only those thoughts that are revealed to them. Shah cites an opinion that angels do not understand it other than Hebrew. Rabbi Yochanan mentions in particular to teach that even Aramaic, which is very similar to Hebrew, which is the language of which parts of the Torah, the books of the Bible are, and is nevertheless incomprehensible to the angels. Okay, so Shimon HaTzadik hears this voice coming out. Apparently, it can't be Shimon HaTzadik. It can't be the Shimon HaTzadik that we know to be with Caligula. The one Shimon HaTzadik that we know was in the time of Alexander. It's hundreds of years earlier, several hundred years earlier. This is Roman times. This is Alexander was 300 BC. The Romans was already in the 1st century. Right? This is after Julius Caesar, which was 33, I think. Right? He was killed in 33. Okay. So here he hears it in Aramaic. Yeah.
He visited.
I don't know about that.
He meeting the rabbis.
No, that I'm not familiar with. So Shimon HaTzadik could have been a grandson of Shimon HaTzadik. Okay. That would resolve this problem. Because they wrote down the exact time when he heard that Pascal, the voice from heaven. And it was an Aramaic problem. angels apparently spoke to him were speaking Aramaic. So Iba Yasema Baskal Shani Delishmoya. Could be that a Baskal is different. Baskals speak Aramaic, other angels don't speak Aramaic. Iba Yasema Gavriel who Damar Gavriel Hava was Gavriel Damar Mar, because we have another source that says that Yosef was talking to Parai. He showed Parai that he knows all the 70 languages. How did he learn it? So Gavriel came the night before and taught him all 70 languages. The angel Gavriel. So apparently Gavriel could speak all the languages, the other angels not. Yeah. I was always wondering, it says by Yaakov asked the angel, tell me your name. It says that we don't have a name, right? The angels don't know. It changes. So how do we have Gavriel and Michal? But what happened over there? So I looked it up in the Zohar. It says that there's higher angels that have names. It's the lower angels that don't have names. Yeah, so apparently there's different levels over here. Some angels that speak Aramaic and some that don't speak. The ones that take the prayers apparently normally don't speak Aramaic. But Gavriel does, and the Baskal does. And, okay. What about benching? So benching could be said in any language. You'll eat, you'll be satisfied, and you'll bless Hashem your God. In any language that you bless. Okay. Now, Shvua Seidus. When they administer an oath to someone that he knows or doesn't know, testimony, and asking him to testify. So the ksiv over there, it says that it's in any language. The ksiv nefesh kisechta v'shama kolala. Person that sins, he hears the sound of a oath. Choloshen shishamas. It's in any language that he hears. Shvus apikaden. This is an oath that they administer to someone that is denying an object that he was guarding. So they say maybe he's keeping it, or maybe there's something happened to it. So he has to asya techta mishvos edus. So we learn that from shvos edus, a verbal analogy. Over there it says techta, over here it says techta. We know that over there it could be in any language, over here also could be in any language. Now we switch. Now we're going to the list of things that need to be recited in Hebrew. Mikra Bikurim. The passage that said when you bring the first fruits, v'chalitza, hulu, ad Mikra Bikurim, until Mikra Bikurim. I guess that's the way of quoting the Mishnah. The Gemara is now quoting the Mishnah. It says until, from here to here, hulu, etc. Until. Okay, Ketzad. How do we know this? It says, you will respond and you will say in front of Hashem your God. And further on it says, by the blessings and the curses that were given at Mount Har Gerizim and Har Ebal, it says, Vanu Alavim Vamru. The Levium responded and they said, Al Kolesh Yisrael, Mani Amur Alam B'Lashon HaKodesh, just like the Levites when they administered the blessings and the curses. That was in Hebrew. Afkan B'Lashon HaKodesh, also here it's in Hebrew, in the Holy Tongue. Levium Gufayim Minal, how do you know over there was in Hebrew? Asya Kol Kol Mi Moshe. Over there we learned from the voice. We learned the word voice from Moshe Rabbeinu. Ksiv Hacha Kol Ram. Over here it says that they would say in a loud voice. Of Ksiv Hasam, and over there it says by the giving of the Torah, Moshe Yadaber V'li Kim Yanenu B'Kol. Moshe spoke and Hashem responded with a voice. That would mean that it was in Hebrew, just like over there it's in Hebrew by Matan Torah. So too by the Levium when they said it's in Hebrew. So too by the Mikra Bikurim, respond and said is also in Hebrew. That's how we get it. What's wrong? Oh, what page? What is this?
I showed you once before, now it's for you.
Oh, this is from Kivega.
Yeah. Because the
Wow.
third time you quoted them, so I give you his original.
Wow, look at this. Let me show you. Here's a picture of Rabbi Kivega. It's a
10 times.
yeah. Number 2, New Chambers Street, New York. Very nice. Cool. So on the picture it says that Suras Orpnei Agoin Rabban Shal Kol B'nei Ha Goyla Marino Akifa Gins or Bins Gins Have Bezdin Chief Rabbi of Posen. Little tiny letters there. Okay, so chalitza ketzad. How is chalitza done? Or at least how do we know? How do we know that chalitza has to be said in Hebrew? You have to teach the lady Hebrew. If we go back over here, it said that there was actually a discussion about this. The rabbi said they learned va'ansa va'amra, and they learned it from the Levium that also said va'anu. Anu means to respond. Rabbi Yehuda says that he learned it from the word kacha. So shall be done, right? So the Gemara says, Rabbanan hai kacha mayavdale. What do the Rabbanan do with the word kacha? Kacha means so. So should be done to the man that doesn't want to build the house of his brother. He needs it. That the parts of this procedure, of this ritual, that if they're not performed, that invalidates the chalitza. It's kacha. It has to be, everything has to be performed. The removing of the shoe and the spitting. If that's not done, then the chalitza is invalid. Rabbi Yehuda, what does Rabbi Yehuda do? He also needs to say that. He says that the word kacha has two. There could have been. Kacha means like so. Could have been just so. Mikai kacha. Mikai kacha. Rabbanan kai kacha lemashal. The Rabbanan don't learn from kai kacha, like we said before. That when we have these drushes, they narrow it down to like a letter, and then they say the rabbis don't think that that's significant enough. Rabbi Yehuda, going back to the other way, what does Rabbi Yehuda do with Vansa Amra? That she'll respond and she says, "My Avidlai." He needs it. Levium de Blashna Kedesh. He learns it the other way, that the Levium had to say their blessings and curses in Hebrew. 1 second. Call me Maisha. We didn't need that. We learned that the Levium said it in Hebrew because we said for the voice, we had a verbal analogy, voice from Moshe from the giving of the Torah. So it says, Ani gamar kol gamar. He felt that the term respond would have been a better way of learning this than from the sound, from the voice. In other words, he didn't hear this from his teacher. He heard from his teacher that the lesson was, the teaching came from the word aniya or anu. Apparently, anu has 4 translations. The root ana. Ana could mean to afflict, right? It could mean to respond. It could mean to sing. Apparently, somewhere in Yechezkel, it means to sing. And then there's another form of it. Yeah.
How do you spell?
Ayin nun hey. If it's in a PL form, if there's a dagesh in the nun, then it means to afflict. Like the word tinus probably comes from that. Okay. Tanya Namiyachi was also taught in a brayse Rabbi Yehuda. Kol makom shneimar kai kacha aniya v'amira ein lashon hakodesh. Kai. Anytime it says any of these expressions, it's referring to it has to be done in Hebrew. Kai tells me kai sevarchu. The kayanim have to bless in Hebrew. I never heard a kayan get up there and say it in English. It has to be done in Hebrew. Kacha the chalitza, right? And aniya v'amira de levium, and the responding and reciting, that's the levium have to say it in Hebrew. It was only one time occurrence, but nevertheless that had to be in Hebrew. Brachas uklalas ketzad. How did this take place? Kivan shavu Yisrael as a yardain. Once they went over the Jordan. So what do we have in the Mishnah? They came to Har Gerizim, and we said what happened, which was near Shechem. And how do we know it's near Shechem? Because we learned from Avram that says Elain Meira. 6 tribes went up this one, the 6 tribes went up that one. The Levium turned to this side. They said the blessings and the curses. Okay. Tana Rabbanan was taught in a brisa. In the instructions of this blessings and curses, Moshe Rabbeinu tells the people that Halayhema be'ever hayardin. Is it not on the other side of the Jordan? Me'ever hayardin ve'elach. It must mean very far from the Jordan, on the other side and down the road and further away from the Jordan. Div Rabbi Yehuda. That's the words of Rabbi Yehuda. What does it mean? Achrei derech mevaya shemesh. After, Rashi says, and over there, achrei means that you have to say further on. Derech mevaya shemesh, the way of the sun rising. So, which means makim shacham zerachas. They came over the Jordan from the east to the west. From the eastern side of the Jordan, they went to the western side of the Jordan. Now the sun rises in the east. So they would have to travel away from the east towards the west. Beretz HaKnani, in the land of Knani, Yeshibarava that dwells in the plain. Elo Har Gerizim Harevel Shesh Mem Kutim. This is the area of Har Gerizim and Harevel that the Kutim settled. Kutim are these tribes that after the 10 tribes were removed, they were exiled. So the king brought in other people to live there so it shouldn't get overrun by animals. Some of those people, they were called Kutim. And it's all a question about if they converted to Judaism. It's a question about their conversion. And they found later on that they had a bird that they were worshiping on top of Mount Gerizim. They had an idol, so they weren't that sincere, apparently. Mula Gilgal, opposite Gilgal, which means Samach Gilgal, was near Gilgal. Eitz Elaini Meira, which is Shechem, near the it's translated as either the plains or the oak tree of Meira, which is Shechem. Alalanu Aimer Bayavar Avram Bar Tzad Makim Shechem Ad Elan Meira, Ma Elan Meira Malalan Shechem Afkan Shechem. Just like by Avram, it says that he traveled until he came to Shechem, which is Elaini Meira. So over here it says Elaini Meira means that it's Shechem. Okay. How far is Shechem from the Jordan? Is it a half-hour drive?
Yeah, at least. Yeah, it's in the middle. Yeah, it's not close to the Jordan.
So it was a travel.
Yeah.
It's away from the Jordan.
Right.
Okay. That is Tanya Amar. That's what we learned. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Tanya was taught in a brisa. Amar Rabbi Elazar bar Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Elazar bar Rabbi Yosi says, "Bedavar says Yafti Sifrei Akutim." In this matter, Yafti doesn't mean I forged. I think it means I proved that they're forged. How do they translate that?
Prove the falsehood.
I proved the falsehood of the Torah of the Kutim, of the books of the Kutim. Amartilem. It told to them, "Ziyaftim teraschem." You forged your scrolls. And you came up with nothing. You say that the oak tree of Meira is the city of Shechem. We also say that it's Shechem. We learned it from Gzeir Shava. And Atem, how did you know it? I think what he's telling him is that how do you know if you don't accept our tradition? How do you know that it's really that? Rabbi Elazar has a different version of this, of where the blessings and curses are. He says, are they not over the Jordan? That means that it's not further from the Jordan, it's samach liyardin. It's next to the Jordan. It says when you will pass over the Jordan, which sounds like immediately on that day, you're going to give the blessings and the curses right when you pass over the Jordan. So it can't be a half-hour drive today. That would be a day's journey back then. So, what does it mean further away from the rising of the sun? It's actually the opposite. It's it's distant from where the sun sets, which means it's distant from the west. It's funny to give instructions like that because that's not the way you're headed. They're headed from east to west. And it says, oh, it's a distant journey from the west to the east. It's a little odd. There it's Aknani.
No, it's like when the kids say, are we there yet?
Uh,
They're going from there.
uh-huh. Very good. Very good. Yeah. This is book, the kid's book. Is it Shabbos yet? Yeah. Have you ever seen that book?
No.
It's basically this kid wakes up in the morning. Is it Shabbos yet? And said, no, first we have to go to the store and get the filter. Is it Shabbos yet? No, first we have to take a bath. And, yeah. Okay.
I think the only thing you know more than shots is all the children's books from
That's
all the
right.
children.
My Malky, right? One of my kids is so into the father and son. He always asks every Shabbos. He says, "Shabbos over yet?" You know, if he wants to go to father and son. So I was thinking of writing the same book, just the opposite, but it doesn't sound good. Is Shabbos over yet? No. First we have to make kiddush and okay. So over here it says Eretz Aknani, and apparently Shechem is not Eretz Aknani. Shechem is Eretz Chivi. Eretz Chivi. So it can't be. Hayeshiv Barava, which is in the plain. Alei bein harim ugvayis hein yoshvin. But it's not. It's in by the mountains, I guess. Har Grizim and Har Evel. Must be another place that's called Har Grizim and Har Evel. Mula Gilgal, opposite Gilgal. Balei Roas Gilgal. Which means what? Means that it's distant from Gilgal. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says, what's happening here in this pasuk is it's telling them how they were going to travel, not specifically the location. It says, which means like this: as the way they traveled originally with Moshe Rabbeinu. Derech, which means b'derech lechu b'lei b'sadis ukramim. It means you have to walk on the road. Don't walk through the vineyards. As this pasuk is teaching me something else, because they didn't have the clouds of glory anymore, so they had to have instructions of how to travel. Hayoishev, that's dwelling. That means the yishav lechu. Should go through the areas that had inhabitants. Midbaris, not through the desert. Barav in the plain, which means barav lechu b'lei b'har megvaris. Don't travel on the mountains and the hills. Go through the plains. Okay, let me leave it over here. Stopping at Taner Rabbanan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Yeshkoyach.
Okay, have a good day.
Shavua tov.
Shabbat tov.